Yo, 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 yo. What's good? This is Josh Sterling. Um, so I wanted to do a prophetic word today. Um, so Spirit told me and put me on to talk about Nostradamus and Nostradamus's predictions of this war on Ukraine. Okay, and we're gonna go over some other predictions that he had concerning the pandemic as well. Okay, all right. So first, I want to explain to you guys in the spirit realm, you have angels like Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, okay, and you have ascended masters, and these ascended masters that protect us, the chosen ones, the prophets of the new age, the 144,000. Our wisdom and our knowledge comes from the ascended masters, those like Nostradamus, those like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, those were keepers of wisdom and knowledge back in their days. They were the prophets, they were the mediums, they were the gifted, if I should say, right? All right. So we want to dive into this, which are blessed by the utmost high like God. God put this wisdom in them for a reason to lead humanity. Okay. Okay. So let's dive into this. All right. This is Nostradamus. Okay. These are prophetic predictions of a World War III and more. My name is Josh Sterling. I am a spirit medium. I see the dead. I am an oracle. I see and talk to the dead. I see visions. I am also an oracle prophet of sorts, and I can also see past, present, and future. Okay. I am a healer. I am a master manifester, and I am a chosen one and an indigo child and a 144,000. Okay. So Spirit told me to share this. So listen, don't let it get all into your soul, get you all bent out of shape or scared. But listen and decipher for yourself. Okay. All right. This is Nostradamus right here. All right. Nostradamus wrote in the year in the year 1551 this: there will be a twin year 2020 from which all arise a queen corona who will come from the east China and who will spread a plague or virus in the darkness of night on a country with seven hills, Italy, and will transform the twilight of men into dust, death, to destroy and ruin the world. It will be the end of the world economy as we know it. Okay, that is self-explanatory. I wanted to put this on here because this is completely telling you about the pandemic and how it was an economy buster for everyone. Okay, I need not get into that. This is pretty self-explanatory. So let's dive into some more material. Okay, the 1942 predictions of Michel de Nostradamus, commonly known as Nostradamus, stretch into the future. All the way up to the end year of 3793, Nostradamus had a flair for predicting doom, gloom, and devastation and predicted a time when the East will weaken the West. Questions have been arisen as to whether his predictions were coming to a head after Russia launched an attack on Ukraine. Okay, which is not the norm. So let's keep that into prospect. Okay, excuse me. On February 24th, Russia began a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, making marking the largest conventional military attack in Europe since World War II. In the early hours, Putin announced a special military operation, and minutes later, missiles struck places across Ukraine, including Kyiv, the national capital. The invasion has been condemned as an international scale and crisis, prompting new sanctions imposed on Russia and triggering a Russian financial crisis. I literally was watching news today, and millions of Russians that do not agree with the war has literally went to not Poland, but It's another nation. I'll get back to y'all with that. I'll drink some of this tea. I'm a little congested. Okay. As both countries locked horns, many feared the tensions could escalate into full-blown World War III scenario, which it has. But what did Nostradamus have to say about the possibilities of a war breaking out in the future? The French prophesier is the most famous for his book, Les Prophéties, which was a collection of 942 poetic quatrains that were said to predict future events. Described as the prophet of doom, the French astrologer and doctor used biblical text and his own experiences of plague as inspiration, with many of his predictions focused on famine and sorrow. Okay, a lot of healers are governed, healers, prophets, chosen seeds are governed by the sacred heart of Jesus. So we are healers. So I could see why he was called the what they call him. He predicted famine and sorrow, the prophet of doom. Okay, of course, because he was trying to lead, be a leader. Okay, and warn, and give humanity a chance to fix this deep-rooted narcissism that has been at the core of DNA for millennia. We are our worst enemy because we are corrupting ourselves. And so we prophets are put here for true wisdom of the utmost highlight God, ascended masters, true wisdom. But of course, a lot of prophets don't get their roses until they dead, and nobody's just trying to hear them until years and years later and stuff comes to fruition. Okay. One quatrain in particular is considered by many to be a forewarning of a global war breakout. The quatrain reads, "Twice put down, the East will also weaken the West. Its adversary, after several battles chased by sea, will fail at time of need." Among the medieval French astrologers' 942 forecasts was the vague suggestion that France may face a threat from the East. Many are interpreting it as a forecast that the Ukraine conflict will reach France. I have receipts about a past conflict that France has with Putin as well from years ago. The prophecy reads, "Blue head shall white heads harm in such degree. As France's good to the both shall ere amount." However, according to Nostradamus specialist Bobby Shaler, a third world could occur within the next several years. In 2021, he said Nostradamus believes it will be great protracted war, 25 to 29 years, followed by lesser battles. However, he added, there will be an age of Saturn. Okay, there's been a lot of portals, a lot of synchronicities, a lot of global disasters. As you see, as I said before, there's an attack on DNA, which is causing a neurological effect and people to really just go crazy. Okay, there's no coincidence. Okay, Nostradamus' other predictions of 2022 included that the world will suffer from an asteroid strike. Floods and droughts will devastate the entire countries, as well as a mass starvation. Supporters of Nostradamus claim the prediction of such events as the Great Fire of London is in 1666 and the rise of Adolf Hitler in 1933. Okay, so the thing about prophets, sometimes you have to give and take what a prophet says. In this time, that might have been a vague statement because, of course, there are people. I just seen a Ukrainian woman with her baby unable to feed her in Hungary. Okay, there have been floods. You don't know if the floods occurred. You don't know if an asteroid has hit the ocean. We don't know that. The U.S. is very private about things. There have been droughts, maybe not in America. These things have been prevalent lately, but just not in America. Excuse me. Okay, so we got to give and take what resonates when it comes to these predictions from back then and just take what is necessary. Okay. All right. So this is Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday discussing a mitigation crisis with Belarusian Polish border with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron. Okay, that's them. As you see Putin's face, he looks very like he's ready to go. You really don't have to tell much here, right? All right, and but I want to give you guys a little backstory about the French invasion on Russia in 1794 that you can cross reference with this Nostradamus prediction. Okay? The French invasion of Russia, also known as the Russian campaign or the Second Polish War or the Second Polish campaign in 1794, the Patriotic War of 1812, and the War of 1812 was begun by Napoleon to force Russia back into the continental blockade of the United Kingdom. Napoleon's invasion of Russia is one of the best studied military campaigns in history. It is characterized by the massive toll of human life. On 24 June 1812 and the following days, excuse me, let me drink some tea. My sinuses. Following days, the first wave of multi-international Grande Armée crossed the Niemen into Russia. Through a series of long forced marches, Napoleon pushed his army of almost 500,000 people rapidly through Western Russia, now Belarus, in an attempt to destroy and separate Russian armies of Barclay d'Italy and Piotr Bagration. Excuse my Russian and my French, who amounted to around 180,000 to 220,000 at this time in casualties. Within 6 weeks, Napoleon lost half of the men because of the extreme weather conditions, disease, and hunger, winning just the Battle of Smolensk. Okay? The Russian army continued to retreat under its new commander in chief, Mikhail Kutuzov, employing attrition war against Napoleon, facing the invaders to rely on a supply system that was incapable of feeding their large army in the field. Okay, I wanted to put this on here, okay, for the simple fact that Nostradamus predicted that that Russia would strike on France before the war. Okay, you feel me? Before the War of 1812. So, of course, when you have a war back in 1812, as I stated before, the French invasion on Russia, 1794, and then 1812, and then you got Nostradamus predicting exactly what's going to happen. But you know who's most boisterous about this situation is France. And one thing that people never forget, a president never forgets, is the casualties. I don't care if it was 100 years ago. They never forget a war. Okay? So now he's trying to fight for these nuclear weapons, and he opened fire on this nuclear site in Ukraine, which is completely unsafe, right? It makes complete sense. I want to bring light to this narcissism that is a plague in its own from the beginning, when the apple was bit, okay, when humanity in the flesh, as again, I have to coordinate spirituality in this delivery because that's who I am. Okay, narcissism is a pandemic in itself. That's why you have all this patriotism. Just, I want to take your land, your money, your oil. I need the best money. If everybody was living in a cabin and eating off the land and paying homage to Mother Gaia and loving each other, this stuff will not be taking place. But because people are in their flesh and catering to this beast of narcissism, we have wars, we have division. We can't come together. But you know who we have to blame? All of us. Namaste means my soul, your soul, our soul. We are one. Okay, we've allowed these narcissists, the righteous in the past have allowed narcissists to take the throne. As soon as this war is over, as I stated before, the grass has got to be burnt, the weeds and so shit could come to a head, excuse my language, and now the new crop can sprout, and now the righteous can take the throne. Okay? And he started this tone of disrespectful and deceit, thinking people with power can get away with stuff, okay? All right, we've got to nip narcissism at the bud. It is corruption in itself. It causes murders. It causes dysfunction in families. It's terrible. Too much ego, too much pride. No more humbleness, no more righteousness. What happened to spiritual moral integrity? Okay, I gotta say that again. Spiritual moral integrity and love. You know? So, as a shaman and a prophet of this age, Spirit drove me to say this to you, humanity, and use this. Okay? It's time to listen to the chosen. It's time. It doesn't have to do with male, female. It has to do with balance. It has to do with yin and yang. Okay? It has to do with the utmost highlight God. Okay? And loving each other and loving yourself. And not hurting a fellow man over monetary means, oil, gas. Gandhi walked miles across his country with no fuel, no oil. Martin Luther King preached unity. Not African Americans are superior because I'm Black. He didn't preach that. Not once did he preach that we was better. He preached unity. You don't have to know them to love them. And I'm only saying this because if you are unified, the more unified and the more we loved each other, the less we have to worry about these repercussions. Self-love is key. Unity is the key to a higher conscious humanity. You don't have to know them to love them. You don't have to know them to wish them well. You don't have to identify with them to love them. You don't have to identify with them to wish them well. You are more than a conqueror. You are victorious. We got to change this narrative. So let me end with this scripture, Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. We got things to do. It's not going to be over tomorrow, but it will be. This too shall pass. And in the end, I hope we could come together unified as humanity and help these poor souls that are all different colors and creeds and genders that have been left with homeless, without food, with hurt children and husbands passing away and they're not able to kiss their wives or their children goodnight anymore over a senseless war. We've got to stand in unison and correct this plague of narcissism. And then we could go home and be proud about who we are. Okay? All right. Knowledge.